remember the relationship that dominated the headlines for quite some time? You won't believe what really went down between TLC's Lisa Lopes and NFL superstar Andre Rison. It wasn't just love, it was chaos, destruction, and a romance that will leave you speechless. Today we're diving deep into the explosive truth behind the couple's infamous relationship. And trust me, you don't want to miss this. It was the early 90s, and Lisa Lopes was on top of the world. At just 21, she was part of the iconic girl group TLC, with hit singles climbing the charts like wildfire. TLC wasn't just any girl group. They were changing the music industry, smashing records, and setting trends. Lopes, with her bold style and rebellious attitude, was one of the most recognizable faces of the group. Her signature condom-wrapped glasses and her eccentric, unpredictable energy made her stand out like no other. She was the left eye of TLC, and fans couldn't get enough. Meanwhile, Andre Rison was a rising football legend. Playing as a wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons, he was known for his incredible skills on the field. He wasn't just an athlete, he was a superstar, and his lifestyle reflected that. Andre was living large, and just like Lopes, he was constantly in the spotlight. When these two met in 1992, sparks flew immediately. It wasn't just attraction, it was like they were drawn to each other by some magnetic force. Lopes was captivated by Rison's confidence and charm, and Rison, he couldn't get enough of her boldness and fiery personality. This wasn't just a fling, this was an all-consuming love. But here's the thing, this was no fairy tale romance. From the moment they got together, their relationship was as wild as it was unpredictable. It was passionate, yes, but it was also volatile. Their fights were loud, public, and sometimes downright shocking. And yet, despite the drama, the love they shared kept pulling them back together. Their relationship quickly became the talk of the town. Fans, tabloids, and the media couldn't get enough of them. They were constantly seen together at parties, high-profile events, and exclusive clubs. To the outside world, they looked like the perfect power couple, music royalty dating sports royalty. But what people didn't see was that behind the glamorous exterior, their relationship was teetering on the edge of disaster. What happened on the night of June 9th, 1994, will forever go down in history as one of the most scandalous moments in celebrity relationships. Lopes and Rison had one of their infamous fights after a night out, but this was different. Lopes, fed up and filled with emotion, snapped. She grabbed a pair of Rison's sneakers, stormed into the bathroom, and set them on fire in the bathtub. But here's the shocking part. What was supposed to be a small personal act of revenge turned into an uncontrollable blaze. The fire spread fast, faster than Lopes ever imagined. Within minutes, the flames were out of control, engulfing Rison's entire mansion. The house was reduced to ashes. Can you imagine the shock? Lopes, once a beloved pop star, now in handcuffs, facing arson charges. Her mugshot, with her standing in an orange jumpsuit, became infamous. It was splashed across headlines everywhere. People couldn't believe it. How could Left Eye do something like this? But what the tabloids didn't tell you was the real story behind that fire. Lopes wasn't just acting out of spite or anger. This was a moment fueled by years of frustration, emotional pain, and a deep sense of neglect. Rison had been out late, and Lopes, already feeling disrespected and ignored, reached her breaking point. This wasn't just about a pair of sneakers. It was about a relationship that had become a pressure cooker of emotions, and that night, it finally exploded. Despite the fire, the charges, and the public humiliation, their relationship wasn't over. Nope, far from it. Rison shockingly came out in defense of Lopes, claiming that she wasn't acting out of malice but out of emotional pain. He even went on record saying that their love was complicated, but it was real. And get this, even after the fire, even after everything was destroyed, they continued seeing each other. That's right, they didn't just walk away from each other after the fire. Their connection was too deep, too intense to sever. They tried to make things work off and on for years after that fateful night, but what no one knew was the extent of the emotional turmoil behind their relationship. Lopes was open about her struggles with mental health. She talked about feeling insecure, dealing with unresolved trauma from her childhood, and constantly battling an inner storm. These emotional wounds often bubbled to the surface in destructive ways, especially when it came to her relationship with Rison. She admitted that her love for him was confusing. She wanted to be with him, but at the same time, she needed to find herself outside of their toxic dynamic. Rison, on the other hand, saw Lopes as someone he couldn't live without, despite all the drama. He described their relationship as intense and passionate, but he also admitted that it wasn't always healthy. Both Lopes and Rison later revealed that their fights would sometimes get physical. This wasn't just an emotional roller coaster. It was a cycle of love, hurt, and reconciliation that neither of them could escape. Friends and family often stepped in, urging Lopes to leave the relationship for good. They saw how destructive it had become and wanted her to break free. But every time things hit rock bottom, Lopes found herself going back to Rison, and he welcomed her with open arms. It was as if their love had become a toxic addiction, one that neither could shake. A big part of what kept them together was the fact that both were under immense pressure from their careers. Lopes, as one of the faces of TLC, was constantly in the public eye. She was dealing with the pressures of fame, the expectations of her fans, and the responsibility of being a role model. Behind the rebellious left-eye persona was a woman struggling with her own identity, trying to balance her success with her personal battles. Rison, too, felt the weight of the spotlight. As a star in the NFL, his every move was scrutinized, and the media was relentless in their coverage of his personal life. Every fight, every reconciliation with Lopes was magnified for the world to see. It wasn't just a relationship anymore, it was a public spectacle. For Lopes, the media pressure was overwhelming. She was constantly judged, not just for her music, but for her personal life. And as her relationship with Rison became more strained, she began to seek a way out, not just from him, but from the chaotic lifestyle that had taken over her life. She started focusing more on her spiritual journey, looking for peace and clarity in the midst of all the chaos. By the late 90s, Lopes was embarking on a personal transformation. She traveled to Honduras, seeking healing and spiritual growth. There, she found moments of peace that had long eluded her. She began to distance herself from the destructive patterns of her earlier years, including her relationship with Rison. But even as she grew apart from him, Rison never stopped loving her. In interviews, he spoke fondly of Lopes, saying that despite their breakup, she would always have a place in his heart. Tragically, Lopes' journey toward peace was cut short. In April 2002, while in Honduras, she was killed in a car accident. The world was devastated. At just 30 years old, she was gone too soon, leaving behind a legacy of music, talent, and a life filled with both triumph and heartbreak. So, what's the real story behind Lisa Lopes and Andre Rison? It's not just about a mansion burning down or two celebrities caught in a toxic cycle. It's about two deeply flawed people who loved each other fiercely, but were unable to overcome the pain and pressures that came with that love. It's a reminder that even those who seem larger than life struggle with the same challenges of love, loss, and personal growth. Today, Lisa Lopes' legacy as a music icon lives on, but her relationship with Andre Rison remains one of the most misunderstood chapters of her life. It's a story of passion, chaos, and a love that burned too hot to last.